Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 10-team PPR mock draft from the 5th overall spot using FantasyPros Draft Wizard. We're going to be drafting up against the ESPN, NFL, and Sleeper ADP. The roster positions for today's mock are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. This video marks the end of our off-season content. Starting tomorrow, Labor Day Monday, will begin our Week 1 content. So if you guys are new to the channel, we don't just make off-season content. We will help you week in and week out on your quest of winning and taking home your 2024 Fantasy Football Championship. So if you're new, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. And if you'd like access to my PPR and half PPR rankings and cheat sheet, make sure you guys check out the Patreon, link in the video description, for $7.50. So the draft begins here. Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and Bijan Robinson. A very normal start to drafts. Typically, the first 3 picks, it's McCaffrey basically every single time as the 101. Then normally it's either CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill. Whoever doesn't go at 2 ends up going at 3. And then normally a lot of the times I see 4 and 5 being running backs, Bijan and Breece Hall. Sometimes reversed where Breece Hall goes ahead of Bijan Robinson. Personally, I rank Bijan ahead of Breece Hall, but it's basically a coin flip to me. So picking here at the 105, it is a choice to me between Breece Hall or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, if this was a 3 wide receiver league where you're starting 3 wide receivers every single week and a flex, or if you're starting 2 wide receivers every week and 2 flexes, that would nudge me towards Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? Because I could be starting 4 wide receivers every single week. There's a full PPR league that gives the boost up to Amon-Ra St. Brown in my rankings. But since this is a normal, vanilla, missionary style, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, the tiebreaker here will go to Breece Hall. I love Breece Hall this season. This is a guy that exceeded expectations last year and frankly was downright amazing despite the fact that Aaron Rodgers went down half of a millisecond into the season. Despite the play of Zach Wilson and Trevor Siemian, Breece Hall ended up prevailing and having a huge season. The offensive line last year was basically a turnstile. They better the offensive line in the offseason. As long as Aaron Rodgers is just like 70% of his old self and is able to stay healthy, knock on wood here, Breece Hall should be able to have a top 3 running back season and has a clear path towards finishing as the running back number 1 in 2024 fantasy football, which could lead to him being the number 1 overall pick in fantasy football drafts come this time in August next season. Even though this is a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver league, if you wanted to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, I wouldn't judge it too much on that. But getting a running back that feels like wrapping a condom around your team here feels super great in Breece Hall, but I also like Amon-Ra St. Brown a ton. I talk about him a lot in my videos. He's one of my favorite first-round picks. After Breece Hall, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, and Saquon close out the first round, so just 4 running backs go inside the first round, which would mean 6 wide receivers went. No onesie positions, meaning the quarterback or the tight end, go in the first round here in your at-home league. Most of the time, a quarterback or tight end should not go at minimum until the late 2nd round. So the 2nd round opens with Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Kyren Williams. What I will say is regarding Jamar Chase, there's still a contract situation happening. I think everything will be fine. I think that Jamar Chase is going to be good to go, ready to go for week 1. But if you're someone that has Jamar Chase ranked ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jefferson, personally, I have Jamar Chase ranked behind those guys, so I would definitely consider that if he hasn't put his John Hancock onto a new contract when you are doing your fantasy football draft. Again, my worry is on like a 2 out of 10 scale, but it's definitely something that I figured I should mention. So we're back up on the clock here. To me, if Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't here, I don't think I would play with the wide receivers here. I like Drake London a ton, but I feel like just solidifying my running back 2 with either Etienne, Pacheco, Achane, or Henry would be the right move. But since a lot of people appear to be nervous to draft a rookie wide receiver inside of the second round. Marvin Harrison Jr. does fall at times. I've seen him even go in the late second in some drafts. This guy is a generational prospect. The guy lives up to the Marvin Harrison name. He's the clear, undisputed number one wide receiver on the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and Marvin Harrison is going to be sucking in targets like his name was Phoenix Marie. So Marvin Harrison Jr. here is a amazing pick. He's a top 10 wide receiver in my opinion, and if he does get as many targets as I project, I think he could even be a top 5 wide receiver in his rookie year. So after we go with Marvin Harrison Jr., Isaiah Pacheco, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Travis Etienne. The third round opens with Chris Olave, Travis Kelce, Drake London, and Josh Allen. I will note that in most 10-team leagues, you typically do see the quarterback 1 and the tight end 1 fall into the third round, but discussing quarterbacks is very league dependent. We talk about this in a lot of the mock drafts. Why is that? Because in some leagues, your league mates might believe Mahomes is the best player in the NFL, so let me draft him in the first round. Or Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL in their mind, or he's the best fantasy football quarterback, so let me take him in the first round. While you should not be doing that, people will do it. It is also important to note that since this is a 10-team league, in my opinion, the quarterback and the tight end value is a lot more important because basically every single team in your league is going to be loaded at running back, loaded at wide receiver, have a solid flex. But the way that you get the leapfrog over those players is by having the elite onesie positions. It shouldn't be a rule of thumb to go into your draft and think, you know what, I need an elite quarterback, I need an elite tight end. But if they do fall to you where you're confident in taking them, then go ahead and select them. So right now, Kelce, who's my tight end 1 off the board, Josh Allen is my quarterback 2 off the board. By the time things swing back to me in the 4th round, I know basically for sure that Laporta and Hurts will not be there. Most of the time, Mahomes won't be there either. Basically guaranteed. Now, again, I wouldn't bet my life on that, but a majority of the time from all the drafts I've done, that has been the case. So if you want to get Laporta, if you're a Laporta rider, you think he's going to be the tight end 1, go ahead and draft him here. If you want Jalen Hurts or Mahomes, you probably have to take him here as well. But we are going to take that risk and go ahead and pass up on them and go with either a running back or wide receiver. And I think I want to shore up my running back room here with my running back 2. We already have Breece Hall, who has that insane running back 1 upside. But you want to know who else has top 5 running back upside? And potentially, if everything rolls correctly, the running back 1 upside, Devon Achane and Josh Jacobs. The way I think of these 2 running backs is very simple. Josh Jacobs is a lot safer. Why? Because Josh Jacobs is the clear number 1 running back on his backfield. They have Marshawn Lloyd behind him, who's a little bit banged up, but might be ready to go in week 1. They don't really have too much depth behind him because A.J. Dillon is hurt, so Josh Jacobs is clearly the guy. Whereas Devon Achane has Mostert next to him, so there's a little bit more of a risk factor when it comes to Devon Achane. But I think there's a clearer path towards Devon Achane absolutely smashing, ripping off multiple 30-plus point weeks. So I would lead with Achane. I would go the way of Achane. But again, if you want to be a little bit safer, bubble wrap your team, wrap that Trojan around your squad, you can go Josh Jacobs. I'm not going to judge you. I am a huge fan of Jacobs this year as well. I think the Dolphins and the Packers have the upside to both be top 5 offenses in the National Football League. And Devon Achane, if he is able to stay healthy, knock on wood, the upside weekly is amazing. His efficiency numbers were off the charts. And if the Dolphins are able to figure out how to play towards the end of the season, and the Dolphins are up in games late in the season, Achane could have another crazy performance in your fantasy football championship. After Achane, Josh Jacobs, Brandon Ayuk, Alvin Kamara, Sam Laporta, Patrick Mahomes, Rashad White, James Cook, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, and Nico Collins. So based upon ADP here, it would feel like Jalen Hurts kind of just fell our way. Now, do I think this is the most likely scenario? Probably not. Because in home leagues, a lot of the time, if you aren't drafting with the sharpest knives in the cupboard, the quarterbacks get artificially bumped up. Even if your league settings aren't pushing towards people drafting quarterbacks early, they are probably going to do it anyways. If Jalen Hurts was here for me, though, I would take him without any question at all. It would be an insta click. It would be the fastest click you have ever seen, because Jalen Hurts is my quarterback one. I think he could rush for 10 plus touchdowns easily this season. He now has Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, so the passing attack should be better. Jalen Hurts is a no-brainer here in the 4th round. Now, if you're thinking, Nick, that is unrealistic, you won't be able to get Jalen Hurts here, then what I would do is just draft one of the wide receivers that are available, whether that is Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuel, or DJ Moore, all guys I would feel comfortable drafting at pick 36. So we're going to take Jalen Hurts, but had he have not been available, we would have went with one of those wide receivers. And then in the 5th round, we probably would have looked for either Lamar Jackson or Anthony Richardson. So we're going to go ahead and get Jalen Hurts there. After Jalen Hurts, Michael Pittman Jr., Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, and now we're back up on the clock. So Mark Andrews as well as Trey McBride, both still available. McBride's ADP is one of the best smashes in fantasy football drafts right now. The fact that you can get him in the 5th round sometimes, to me, is absolutely ludicrous. I don't understand why people aren't higher on Trey McBride based upon what they saw at the end of last season with Kyler Murray. Zach Ertz now gone. Trey McBride's path to being the tight end 1 is very, very possible. But I think I'm going to pass up on him here since we do take him so much in these mock drafts. I try to do different things all of the time. And we do have 2 running backs already on the squad, so going wide receiver is definitely the play. If you wanted to go triple running back, robust running back, then to me, you would need James Cook or Joe Mixon to fall ass backwards into the 5th round, which will probably never, ever happen to take one, because I'm definitely not taking James Conner, Ramondre Stevenson, even a guy like Aaron Jones or Dave Montgomery I love over the wide receivers available here. Jalen Waddle is falling in drafts due to the fact that he's practicing with a non-contact injury. That is concerning to many fantasy football players. So that's going to make him fall. Everything I have read, everything I've heard as a Dolphins fan, as a Dolphins Gawk 9000er, I will tell you that Jalen Waddle should be good to go for week 1. I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, but everything that I've read will tell you that he should be good to go in week numero uno. And even if he was to, worst case scenario, miss week 1, he would be back by week number 2. So we're going to go ahead and draft Jalen Waddle there, get the discount due to his ADP plummeting. If Jalen Waddle was not available there, the pick would have been either Rashee Rice or Malik Neighbors. After Jalen Waddle, CJ Stroud, Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, Malik Neighbors, Devontae Smith, Amari Cooper, Anthony Richardson, Joe Shiesty, Joe Buddha, James Conner, and Aaron Jones. The ADP of Rashee Rice has shot up a bunch on ESPN, but that doesn't mean that every other website isn't adapting correctly. Because while Rashee Rice is the clear number 1 receiver on the Chiefs, people are nervous to take him because in some people's minds, they're fantasy football lawyers. They don't have a fucking law degree. They didn't look into anything. They don't understand how the NFL legal process works. They just think, you know what, Rashee Rice was caught doing X. He's going to get suspended. Everything that the NFL has done previously tells you that until there's a court date, until the legal process occurs, the real legal process occurs, they're not going to throw the fucking haymaker. They're not going to throw a teep kick to you because they want to let the legal process play out. So Rashee Rice's court date isn't until December. And then it's all going to play out. And then even if they try to suspend him, you know what they're going to do? And they're going to say, the can be no. We're doing it next season. We're going to battle this. And then it just gets pushed to next season. So Rashee Rice feels like an absolute smash here. There would be some tingles going on downstairs, like my name was Spider-Man with the Peter Tingle, but it would be my Peter Tingling if you catch my drift. I'm going to go with Rashee Rice here. If he wasn't available, it would be T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, all wide receivers that I like in this range. George Pickens as well. At tight end, I like Kincaid, I like Pitts, I like Ingram, but to me, I think one of them may fall, and if they don't end up falling into the next round, it's no harm, no foul. So we're going to go ahead here and get Rashee Rice. Again, just because you're getting the number 1 receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs with the best quarterback in the NFL throwing you the ball, as a guy that was really starting to put up solid numbers, be very consistent towards the end of last season. Sometimes fantasy football is very simple. Sometimes fantasy football is made easy, but people will do the mental gymnastics. The fucking hamster will be running in the wheel in your brain, and you're going to start overthinking everything. There's no need to overthink things. After Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, DeAndre Swift, George Kittle, me Timbers, Ramondre Stevenson, Dak Prescott, George Pickens, and Calvin Ridley. So up at pick 65, we waited, and the fantasy football gods above ended up blessing us here with the tight ends falling. Now, based upon ADP, we are at pick 65. Kincaid fell, but Ingram, this is his ADP, and this is Kyle Pitts' ADP. So if you're like, Nick, it's impossible to get Kincaid at this pick, you could have easily gotten Ingram or Pitts. To me, the reason why I don't normally take Evan Ingram a lot is because I don't really see a path towards Ingram being a league winner. What I mean by that is, while Ingram's going to put up a lot of points because he's going to get a lot of targets, he's not the kind of guy that rips off multiple touchdown seasons. And by multiple touchdown seasons, I really mean like 5 or more touchdown seasons. Back-to-back years in Jacksonville with just 4. His most amount of touchdowns was back in 2017 with 6. Now, when you're getting 125 plus targets like he should, he's going to be fine. But since he is just notoriously iced out of the end zone, since he is notoriously not a big touchdown scorer, they're looking elsewhere in the red zone with guys like ETN, Christian Kirk, they bring in Brian Thomas Jr. To me, it just feels like while on paper, Evan Ingram might even be, like, you can make a very strong argument to Ingram is safer than Kincaid and Pitts, but I want to hunt for more of that upside in the middle rounds where Pitts, Pitts has done us dirty before. Pitts has bent us over the table without spit or lube. It has been brutal. Kyle Pitts has been dog shit in fantasy football before, and you were definitely disappointed if you drafted him last season. But there's just so much more upside because if Kyle Pitts fully unlocks, right, you're spinning the mystery box, right, you could end up getting a fucking Olympia, or you could end up getting some shitty gun that you don't want like some burst M14 or something like that, but you could unpack the mystery box and get the Thunder Gun or the Ray Gun Mark II or the regular Ray Gun, some crazy wonder weapon. If you played zombies, you get it. If you don't play zombies, if you never played Call of Duty before, the reference here is you spin the slot machine, you might end up getting nothing, but you might end up hitting 777s with Kyle Pitts. So I'm going to go ahead and draft him here. Him and Kincaid are a real toss-up, though, to me. Now, Fantasy Pros is like, wee woo, dumbass alert. You reached, you could have gotten him 2 rounds later. But in anyone's at-home league, even if 90% of the league has been burnt on Kyle Pitts, someone's probably going to take him by the time things swing back around, so I don't even remotely feel bad about that. After Kyle Pitts, T. Higgins, Kyler Murray, David Montgomery, Najee Harris, Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen, Tony Pollard, Zamir White, Raheem Mostert, and Terry McLaurin. Since our running back core is solidified here, I definitely want to keep jumping on some wide receivers. Now, something that you guys might have thought during this draft that I just realized as I was looking at my team over there, Nick, you have 2 guys on the Dolphins. How can you do that? You can't draft 2 guys on the same team, Nick. That's crazy. Well, my argument to this is, you think the team's going to be very good, and you like the players, you can draft 2 of them on the same team. Now, if we're talking about drafting, for instance, 2 players on the Commanders, no one really projects the Commanders to be that great. You're talking about taking 2 players on the Panthers. No one projects the Panthers to be that great. That is a clear warning sign in my head. Hey, maybe you should not draft 2 of them. That's fine to draft 1 player on shitty teams, right? Deontay Johnson could end up as a top 12 receiver on the Panthers, even if they're not very good. Terry McLaurin, the same thing. Brian Robinson could have a great season, right? But taking multiple bets out, right, on a shitty team normally isn't the smartest decision. The Dolphins should be one of the best teams. Now, I'm not biased as a Dolphins fan. Anyone that has watched my content prior to the last couple of years when the Dolphins hired Mike McDaniel, and they've actually been good ever since Tyreek showed up, I would tell you just not to draft a lot of Dolphins players. There was a year where I liked some of the players, but again, I wasn't sitting there getting down on my knees, whipping the knee pads out and fucking fondling their Johnson, okay? If I think the team's good, I'm fine doing it. Like the Chiefs, I'm fine drafting Rashee Rice and Pacheco. I'm fine drafting Kelsey and Pacheco. I don't think it's that crazy. It's definitely less crazy, though, when you get Waddle in the 5th round and you're taking Achane in the 3rd round. It's not like they were both top 3 round picks, which is where some people might put the pause at drafting guys like Pacheco and Kelsey on the exact same team. So I'm confident in the running back core. There definitely is a tier fall off here after Javonte Williams at running back. So if you're someone that is not as gung-ho with a guy like Devon Achane, you might want to draft Javonte Williams here, but we are just going to draft the best receiver available. Reed, Godwin, Johnson, close your eyes and pick one of them. We will go ahead and go with Jaden Riley Reed here. Now, Jaden Reed is probably the most risky out of that bunch because the Panthers really just have Johnson, Thielen, who's old as fuck, and Xavier Legette. The Bucks have McMillan, who's getting hyped up. They have Godwin and Evans, right? The Packers have a million wide receivers, right? But if Jaden Reed ends up as the number 1 wide receiver in the 8th round of the Packers, an offense that I love this season, then Jaden Reed is going to be a guy that we want in our lineup all of the time, and we are able to select him inside of the 8th round. After Jaden Riley Reed, Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson, Javonte Williams, Cleveland Browns defense, which is the worst pick in the draft, taking a defense that early is a awful decision. Why? Because it hurts your depth at running back and wide receiver. You should be taking your defense with one of the last 2 round picks. If you want to get overzealous, you're like, oh, I really want this defense, let me get them, then draft them in round 13. Don't reach on defense. We stream defenses every week. The streaming defenses video for week number 1 will be out tomorrow. There's also already a video on my channel about the defenses to draft because some of the defenses that you want to draft might not be available on the waiver wire. The waiver wire video we put into point that, hey, they're owned or rostered in this many leagues, looking at ESPN, NFL, Yahoo. So we're back up on the clock here. JSN, Zach Moss, Hollywood Brown, and Christian Watson. Probably should take a running back, though, before it gets too late, because after you miss out on this group of guys, like there was a tier break from Javonte to these guys, but once you get into this range and then it keeps falling and falling and falling, you don't even really have a clear path towards them being the running back 1 unless there's an injury. Now, obviously, there are some situations that are not like that, right? For instance, J.K. Dobbins, you can get late, could be the running back 1 on the Chargers, right? You can go ahead and select Rico Dowdle late. He might be the running back 1 on the Dallas Cowboys. But those situations are very far and few in between. Jonathan Brooks is the guy I want here. Looking at ADP, though, the question will be, would he fall back to us? Pick 93. He could, but I want to get my guy. If you do play in a league with an IR spot, he is a much easier click. Jonathan Brooks is an amazing running back prospect. His problem, he's going to be out for the first 4 games of the season. Now, there was talks earlier on in the offseason, even just a couple of weeks ago, will Brooks be thrown on the IR? Because what the coaches have been saying, and what the beat reporters have been saying, kind of pushed to maybe he'd be back by like around week 3. The team wants to play it safe. He'll be back after week number 4. Now, if you build a team that needs, more solid pieces. Hey, I'm worried about my running back 2 for week 1. Let me get Jerome Ford, who's going to be the running back 1 early on in the season for the Browns. I love Jerome Ford, but I would rather, because I have the confidence in Breece and Devon Achane. Now, unless one of them goes down, obviously, then that would suck, but we still have other picks, right? It's not the last fucking round. I want to take a guy that has the upside to be my flex weekly, to be maybe even surpass these guys, because I think Jonathan Brooks is that good. I think that Chuba Hubbard is not going to be very relevant in this offense once Jonathan Brooks arrives. Now, again, that's kind of a guessing game. Will they ease him in? Sure. I'm not going to fucking, like in week 5, say he's back week 5. He misses 1, 2, 3, and 4 because he's on IR. He has to miss the first 4 weeks. He comes back week 5. I'm probably not going to play him, right? Unless my running back core is so down bad where you need to start him, I'm not going to play him. I'm going to wait and see how it goes before I jolt him into my lineup, but he does have a ton of upside, solid pass catcher as well. Everything Canales, head coach of the Panthers, has said about Brooks is incredibly promising towards having a running back that has that league-winning upside. Rome Odunze, 49ers, Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, 2 teammates back-to-back, Xavier Worthy, Keon Coleman, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Jalen Warren, Devin Singletary, and Jordan Addison Ray. So we're back up on the clock here. Let's just solidify our running back 4 here and then dive back into the wide receiver. So realistically here, the most upside pick would be Spears and Brown are probably the highest upside guys here. But Jerome Ford has a very controlled role early on. We already have the upside shot on Brooks, so if one of these guys go down, I kind of want that safety net to cast early on in the season. Plus, there's a chance that Nick Chubb just doesn't get healthy, or he's back and he's not really the guy, and Ford is the lead back. Now, a report came out today from the Cleveland Browns beat reporters that was talking about how, hey, Jerome Ford is ready to be the bell cow the whole season, which is something I've been talking about the whole fucking summer, that Nick Chubb suffered an insanely terrible injury. Now, Nick Chubb, he's a beast. He wants to come back. I have so much respect for Nick Chubb. He's one of my favorite running backs in the NFL, one of the most fun running backs to watch in the NFL, bar none, in my opinion. I've loved 9-inch Nicholas Chubb ever since he was a rookie, tag teaming with Kareem Hunt, forming an Eiffel Tower over defenses. But what I will tell you is that while I love Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford F-150, if he's the guy, should easily be a top 24 back. The Browns have a great defense, so if they're able to stay up in games, they're going to run a bunch with Jerome Ford. Feels like a very valuable player to have on your team, to have stashed on your bench. Plus, the Nick Chubb owner starts panicking. Nick Chubb's not coming back. Then maybe you can send a trade over their way. There's other things to do with these players instead of just having them chill on your bench as well. After Jerome Ford, Cortland Sutton, Ladd McConkey, Tajay Spears, Ezekiel Elliott, D-Hop, Brian Thomas Jr., Gus Edwards, and Chase Brown. Dalton Kincaid is still available. I never take 2 tight ends, but in this scenario, I probably just would. Now, it's not to start the second tight end, but because I think I could probably dangle someone over the edge of a building like I am Paulie Walnuts or something like that, or like what happened to Johnny Drama in Entourage. If you remember, the rapper ended up dangling him over the building. I don't remember which season that is, maybe season 2. If you know Entourage, you know. Shout out my boy Turtle. I'd probably pick Kincaid here because of that. But normally I don't take a backup tight end or anything. And there's also like a 0.000000001% chance that actually ends up taking place. So it's not even that important of a talking point to sit here and extrapolate on for a very long time. So we definitely need more WRs here, some more wide receivers. Tyler Lockett, I don't know why. Like, I just don't know why people are taking him. He's dealing with a leg injury, and JSN's getting all this hype. He's going to be the number 3 guy. He also just, like, what's the upside in that? There really just isn't any. Jacoby Myers should be the number 2 on the Raiders. Jameson Williams is like a straight-up fucking firecracker. Now, I do believe he'll be a lot more involved this season, but if someone goes down in your roster and you need that high upside wide receiver throw, and you just throw that guy in, he is either going to get you like 15 points, maybe even 20-plus points, or he's going to get you fucking 3, and he just has like 2 targets and no catches. Oh, well, that would be 0 points, but you get what I mean, right? Just have a shit game. I like Jameson Williams. Sue me. A lot of people have talked him up on the team, that being Goff, that being the head coach. It's his first full offseason training with the team. So I like J-Mo in the 11th round. Again, early on in the draft, try to play it safe, right? You can take some risks. I thought Achane, in my opinion, he's more of a risk than Jacobs, but I'm taking the risk, right? I'm going left instead of right. But early on, you try to play things a little bit safe, right? You're playing it by the book, like you're playing at a blackjack table, but sometimes you just want to fucking hit for no reason. You're just like, fuck it, I'm going to hit, the book stays to stand, YOLO. Sometimes you end up hitting and you get a fucking king or a queen, you get a face card, and you're sitting there looking like an idiot, and the dealer makes fun of you or something like that. Or you hit, you have iron nuts, and you get the correct number, you hit 21, and it's beautiful. That's how I think about it late on in drafts. It's fine to take some layups, right? Jerome Ford, fucking layup, right? Shout out Angel Reese, layup legend. And then we hear some of these shots. Jameson Williams, he's a fucking half-court 3. Jonathan Brooks, I think he's kind of a safe pick, but there's injury risk. That's more of a fucking 3-point shot, right? You want to take calculated risks. Ferguson in this round would literally make me so excited, but we already have a tight end, so we don't need to back a back. We don't need to draft a backup quarterback or tight end when you draft them with this high of draft capital. In my opinion, if you draft a top 10 tight end, don't draft a backup tight end. If you draft a top 10 quarterback, don't draft the backup quarterback. These guys like Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, Tua, Jared Goff, Lawrence. You kind of can play it by ear. If you want to draft a second quarterback, you can. Most of the time, I don't. But if I am in the range where it's like, oh shit, I'm Matthew Stafford, then I want to pair him with like Rodgers. Now you might be thinking, Nick, how does it happen where your quarterback one's Matthew Stafford? The way that happens is your league mates are absolute fucking degenerates and they're drafting a million quarterbacks and you're just like, they're gonna stop, and then they just keep fucking picking them up in the draft, and then you're stuck with a finger up your ass thinking like, wow, why is Deshaun Watson my quarterback? And that was a little too graphic with Deshaun Watson. Fingers up the ass. That dude's a sick bastard, Deshaun Watson. Massage man. So we're back up on the clock here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers, 2 running backs. So we're going to want to go wide receiver and running back with these last picks. The wide receivers here feel pretty solid, pause, but so do the running backs. We're just going to go best player, which would be Dowdle. You might just get hit with the Rico Dowdle. This is a guy that could be the running back one in Dallas. Now, Zeke might just steal that spot from him, even though Zeke's not all that good. We kind of just know that Jerry Jones kind of just has an influence over things there. He's like the fucking puppet master, making them dance. And we also know that Mike McCarthy is a bit of a fool as well. A fool. So I don't think it's a guarantee that Dowdle will be the guy, but I think he eventually will be. And then we're going to go wide receiver, and we're just going to go with Joshua Palmer. Now, this isn't really the highest upside of selections. You could go Polk, Dougie, teach me how to Dougie, Mike Dubb, Josh Downs. Could go Michael Wilson, Darnell Mooney. But we're going to go Palmer. Why? Because while the Chargers should be a run-heavy team on paper, if Joshua Palmer ends up as the wide receiver one over Ladd McConkey, which to me is like a 50-50 guess, right? 50-50. Heads or tails. If it lands on tails where Palmer is, who's going much later, you're going to end up very happy because Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. It's just maybe there won't be a lot of opportunities to go around, so you probably just want one of them. Plus, Dobbs ended up being very solid for fantasy football last year when Mike Williams as well as Keenan Allen went down. So now we're to draft our defense and our kicker. Jalen Wright came out the board. Jaden Stormy Daniels, Ty Chandler, Caleb Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Khalil Herbert, Justin Tucker the fucker, Dallas Goedert, Dalton Schultz, and Harrison Butker. So we're back up on the clock here. First, we're going to go ahead and select our kicker. We're going to go with Brandon Aubrey. Many people are saying Brandon Aubrey is the kicker one this year. And then for defense, you want to draft a defense playing up against a not-so-hot offense in week 1. The defenses to draft video has already been released. The defenses to stream video will be released on Monday in the morning. So if you're watching on Monday, like your drafts tonight, you're shaking, thinking about it, watch both the videos. Check them out because some of the defenses that were in the first video won't be in the second one, as well as vice versa. So this time, we'll go with the Steelers going up against the Falcons in week 1. Now, I like the Falcons a lot this year. I think the Falcons are going to be a very, very solid team. But I also think that TJ Watt's going to be able to sack Kirk Cousins a couple of times. I think that this is the first game of the team. So that means it's a little bit more dicey, right? Because not only do they have a new quarterback, it's a whole new system as well. If that does scare you, though, because you have Pitts on the team already, you can go with one of the other defenses I like the Seahawks or the Bears. There's a bunch of defenses I like based upon their week 1 matchup. And guess what? When they have a harder matchup in week 2, you drop them like it's hot and you pick up a new defense. The Seahawks are a defense that I really like that have a good matchup in week 1 as well as week number 2. But we're going to go with the Steelers this time. Again, if you disagree with that, that is okay. You could just go with one of the other defenses. So we get an 87 out of 100. Interesting that Fantasy Pros rolls this cool looking graphic out here after fantasy drafts are basically over, right? You roll this out the last day, so I guess this will be the new for next season. It does look kind of cool. I won't lie. It looks better than what they previously had, and that's not meant to be a shot at the creators of Fantasy Pros. It's just funny that, like, this brand new, nicer looking thing came out a little bit later. Also, Ricky Pearsall got shot. Prayers to him. He wouldn't have been selected in this video because now he's probably going to miss like 5-6 games. And I don't mean to laugh because I'm not laughing at him. It's just like a crazy situation to happen. We have seen Tank Dell get shot recently. We've seen Brian Robinson get shot a couple years ago. It's crazy. It really is crazy. I pray and hope that Pearsall ends up as our Ricky Pearsall. I've heard a couple ways to pronounce his last name, but I do hope that he is okay. I saw something that his mother posted on Facebook. Crazy situation. You didn't know that happened. There you go. That's the information on it. I do not expect him to be ready to go for week 1. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Jalen Hurts comes off the board as our quarterback. Our running backs are Breece Hall and Devon Achane. Our wide receivers are Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jalen Waddle. Our tight end is Kyle Pitts. Our flex is Rashee Rice. Our defense is the Steelers. Our kicker is Aubrey. Our bench is comprised of Jaden, Riley Reed, Jonathan with an O, Brooks, Jerome Ford F-150, Jamison Williams, Rico Dowdle, and Joshua Palmer. The 5 J's on the bench and 1 Rico Dowdles. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. This offseason, August was crazy. We got so many views, so many subscribers, and I owe it all to you guys. I love you guys all so much. I don't try not to get like emotional on these videos, but it genuinely is crazy that something I started a couple of years ago has gotten this popular. It's genuinely amazing, and it's not because of me. It's because of you guys. I love you guys all so much. Make sure if you're new, hit that subscribe button. I mean, if you watched a video for 35 plus minutes around there of some guy on the internet talking about fantasy football, their mock draft, you should probably fucking subscribe, right? Be a nice guy or gal, you know? Hit that like button. Check out one of the videos on the screen if you haven't seen them already. Best of luck in your guys' drafts. I love you guys all so much, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Tomorrow starts week number 1. I am excited, and I hope you guys are too. Love you guys. Peace. Bye.